Smoke and fire filled the sky over the alien planet. The ground trembled as distant explosions shook the ruins of what had once been a thriving city. Buildings that had stood for centuries now lay in shattered piles, and the air was thick with dust, acrid smoke, and the metallic scent of destruction. In the middle of the chaos, amidst fallen debris and twisted metal, a small figure stirred weakly. She was alien, delicate in form, with pale blue skin that seemed almost luminous even in the dim, smoky light. Her large violet eyes fluttered open, but they were clouded with pain and fear. Her thin body shivered violently as she struggled to move, each effort sending sharp pains through her limbs. She had no strength, no hope, and the world around her was cruel and unforgiving. She had been left behind. In the retreat of her people, those stronger, faster, and more resilient had fled, but she had been caught, injured, and alone. Every sound, the echo of collapsing walls, the groan of shifting debris, the whirring of patrol drones made her heart pound in terror. She pressed herself against a broken wall, too weak to escape, and tried to make herself invisible. Survival was all she could focus on, but even that seemed impossible. Then she saw him. At first, she thought he was just another threat, another soldier of the humans who had invaded her planet. He was tall, strong, and moved with careful precision across the rubble. His armor was scratched and scorched, evidence of his own battles, but his movements were deliberate, cautious. She had never seen a human this close, and instinct told her to run, but her body refused. Pain held her in place, her injuries too severe to allow movement. The human soldier noticed her immediately. His eyes, a sharp green, scanned the area, taking in every detail of the ruined cityscape, and then they rested on her. He crouched low, careful not to startle her, and called out in a calm voice, "It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you." The alien girl's large eyes widened. She hissed softly, a sound that was more instinct than language, and tried to crawl further into the shadow of the rubble. But the human moved slowly, showing no threat. He crouched, lowered his hands, and produced a small, glowing medical kit. He spoke softly again, "I can help you. You don't have to be alone." For a long moment she simply watched him, uncertainty and fear battling against the tiny flicker of hope that perhaps he was different. Finally, her body gave a small shudder and she allowed him to come closer. He knelt down carefully, avoiding sudden movements, and assessed her injuries. Her left leg was broken. A deep cut ran across her side, and dehydration had made her skin almost translucent. She whimpered as he gently cleaned the wound with a sterilizing spray, but he did not flinch at her alien anatomy. "You're safe now," he said softly. His voice carried a warmth she had never known, a reassurance she could feel even without understanding all his words. He wrapped her in a thermal blanket, careful not to hurt her, and offered her a small canister of water. She hesitated, fear and distrust battling with hunger and thirst, but her body won. She accepted it, drinking in small, cautious sips, and for the first time in what felt like forever, she felt a tiny spark of hope. Just as the brief moment of peace settled over them, the ruins around them began to shift. A collapsed wall groaned above them, and a group of patrol drones drawn by the heat and movement hovered in the distance. The soldier's eyes narrowed. He whispered, "We need to move." Carefully, he lifted her into his arms. She flinched, startled by the sudden motion, but he held her gently, cradling her like a fragile child. His strength, skill, and calm presence were something she had never seen in any of her kind before. And slowly, fear began to give way to trust. They moved through the ruins, the soldier scanning constantly, setting up small traps to slow any pursuing drones. He ducked behind broken walls, carried her across debris, and spoke quietly, offering small reassurances. Each step was dangerous, but he refused to let anything happen to her. The alien girl began to relax slightly, though her body still ached from injuries. For the first time she realized that humans were more than their reputation as invaders. Some like him could be protectors and perhaps even friends. Hours passed as they made their way out of the city. The human soldier set up a temporary shelter under the remains of a large building. He carefully laid her down on a soft bed of debris, wrapped her tightly in the thermal blanket, and checked her injuries again. Then he rested beside her, keeping watch. During the quiet moments, he shared bits of his world, stories of humans who helped each other, of courage in the face of danger, of compassion for those in need. Though she could not fully understand his words, the tone and intent reached her. She had never known such dedication. The alien girl tried to speak, forming sounds that the soldier could not understand, but he smiled and nodded encouragingly. It was progress. Trust, once impossible, was slowly taking root. The night brought new dangers. A storm rolled in, winds tearing through the ruined cityscape, rain pounding the fragile shelter. The soldier shielded her with his body, letting the harsh wind hit him instead. He used every piece of his training and human ingenuity to keep them safe. He reinforced the shelter with debris, dug small trenches to redirect water, and used scraps of reflective material to signal for help if needed. Despite the storm, he never left her side. By morning, the storm had passed, leaving a quiet calm. The alien girl looked at him with wide eyes, a silent understanding forming. He had saved her life. He had protected her from harm when no one else would. And though words were still limited, she felt an unspoken bond, a promise that he would not abandon her. Their journey was far from over. The planet was still dangerous and their enemies were numerous. But the human soldier had made a choice. He would carry her through danger no matter what it cost. And for the alien girl, that choice meant everything. She had been left to die, abandoned by her own people, but now she had hope. She had someone willing to fight for her, to care for her, to be by her side. As they set out toward a safer location, moving through broken forests and cratered fields, the alien girl began to mimic some of the soldier's movements, learning to navigate the terrain with his guidance. She discovered that she was not as helpless as she had believed. With his support, she could survive. With his protection, she could thrive. They encountered obstacles along the way. Collapsed bridges, toxic mists, and unpredictable wildlife tested their endurance. But each challenge revealed the soldier's ingenuity. He created makeshift tools, improvised shelters, and clever traps to avoid predators. The alien girl watched in awe as he solved problems that would have seemed impossible to her species. Slowly, admiration and trust deepened into something stronger, a bond that went beyond words. At night, they shared quiet moments. He told her stories of Earth, of human courage, of the ability to rise above impossible odds. She listened, captivated by the idea that being so small, so fragile compared to the vast universe, could still change the course of events. Her respect for him grew with each passing day, matched only by a deepening sense of safety and connection. But danger was never far behind. Rogue drones patrolled areas they had to cross, and hostile alien factions searched for survivors. Each encounter tested the human soldier's skill and resolve. He never hesitated to put himself in harm's way to protect her, using clever tactics and human ingenuity rather than brute force alone. Every time they survived, the alien girl felt her trust and hope grow. She realized that humanity, though imperfect, had qualities that could change the course of a life, or a world. By the time they reached the outskirts of a neutral zone, the alien girl was exhausted but alive. Her injuries were beginning to heal, her trust in the human soldier unwavering. For the first time in her life, she felt that she was not entirely alone, that someone cared enough to protect her without expecting anything in return. And the human soldier, though weary, had made a silent vow to keep her safe until she could stand on her own again. The story ended this first chapter of their journey with a promise. No matter what dangers lay ahead, no matter the odds, they would face them together. The human soldier had claimed not just her safety but her trust, and in doing so had sparked hope in a world that had seemed completely lost. The alien girl, once left to die, now had a chance to live, and perhaps even to find a place in the universe where she could belong. The alien girl's steps were hesitant but determined as she followed the human soldier through the fractured landscapes of her planet. Her body had begun to heal, though every movement reminded her of the injuries she had suffered. She kept close to him, feeling safer with each passing mile. The human's presence was steady, reassuring, and despite the dangers that surrounded them, she found herself daring to hope again. They navigated through ruined cities that had once been centers of culture and life, now reduced to rubble. The human soldier moved with practiced precision, scanning every corner for threats, predicting dangers before they arrived. The alien girl marveled at his skill, a mix of intelligence, bravery, and intuition that seemed almost impossible for a single being to possess. She tried to help where she could, pointing out obstacles or alerting him to sounds in the distance. Though she spoke little, they had begun to understand each other through gestures, expressions, and shared experience. One evening, as the sun set behind jagged mountains, painting the sky in shades of orange and purple, they reached the edge of a toxic forest. A dense fog hung over the trees, and strange flickering lights danced between the branches. The human soldier crouched low, signaling for the girl to stay close. He explained in simple words, showing her a map and pointing to the safe paths he had planned. She nodded, trying to memorize the route. The forest was treacherous, filled with hidden pitfalls and dangerous creatures adapted to the poisoned soil. They moved slowly and carefully, stepping over roots and fallen branches. The alien girl stumbled once, and the human caught her effortlessly, steadying her and offering a reassuring smile. She felt warmth in his touch, a reminder that someone cared for her well-being more than anything else. They had survived so much together already, and she realized that she trusted him completely. She had no family, no home. But with him, she felt a sense of belonging she had never known. Suddenly, a rustling sound came from the undergrowth. The alien girl froze, her eyes wide. The human soldier raised a hand and crouched lower, scanning the movement. From the shadows emerged a small creature, unlike anything she had seen before. It was curious rather than threatening, its eyes glowing faintly. The soldier gestured for her to stay calm, and she did, feeling his confidence as if it were a shield around her. The creature sniffed at their feet, then disappeared into the fog. The tension eased and they continued on, but both remained alert. Days passed and their bond grew stronger. The alien girl began to mimic the human's actions, learning how to move quietly, how to identify dangers, and how to ration food and water. She realized that humans were clever and resourceful, capable of facing impossible odds with courage and intelligence. She admired him not just for saving her life, but for the way he faced every challenge without fear. Every time they survived an obstacle, she felt pride, not just in herself but in the human beside her. They reached a narrow canyon, the walls towering above them. The soldier examined the path carefully, noting loose rocks and unstable ledges. "We go slow," he said, patting her shoulder. She nodded and followed, moving carefully under his guidance. Halfway through, a sudden tremor shook the canyon. Rocks began to fall, and the alien girl panicked, her legs threatening to give out. Without hesitation, the human grabbed her and pulled her close, shielding her with his body as debris rained down around them. The rocks crashed harmlessly against him, and when the danger passed, he gently set her down, brushing dust from her hair. She looked at him with awe. He had risked himself without a second thought to keep her safe. That night, they camped in a small alcove in the canyon. The alien girl tried to speak, forming new sounds that the human attempted to mimic, and slowly, words began to emerge between them. She learned to say her name, and he learned to say it correctly. It was a small victory, but it felt monumental. For the first time in days, she smiled without fear. She had someone who understood her, someone who valued her life and her presence. Their journey led them next to a wide river, swollen from recent rains. The current was strong, and the alien girl hesitated at the edge. The human soldier smiled gently and demonstrated a safe path across, using fallen logs and rocks as stepping points. She followed, trembling with every step, but he stayed close, his hands ready to catch her if she slipped. When they reached the other side, she laughed quietly, a sound that filled her heart with relief and joy. They had survived yet another challenge together. As they traveled, other aliens noticed them. Some were wary, keeping their distance, while others attempted to intimidate them, believing that a human had no right to claim one of their kind. The soldier faced these confrontations not with aggression, but with intelligence and calm authority. He communicated clearly, showing that he meant no harm, and that the girl was safe with him because of his responsibility and care. Slowly, even the most skeptical began to respect him, recognizing the courage and honor in his actions. The alien girl began to understand something she had never known. Humans were capable of extraordinary bravery and compassion. He protected her, not for reward or recognition, but because it was the right thing to do. His ingenuity and moral strength shone brightly in a world full of danger. She felt a growing admiration and respect that went beyond mere survival. Finally, after many days of travel, they reached the outskirts of a neutral planet, a sanctuary where no war had reached. The land was green, the air fresh, and the environment welcoming. The alien girl could hardly believe her eyes. For the first time, she saw safety, a place where she could rest without fear. But even as they approached, a group of hostile aliens appeared, blocking the path. They demanded that she be returned to them. The human soldier did not flinch. He stepped forward, positioning himself between her and the attackers. He spoke calmly but firmly, showing them that he would not let harm come to her. The aliens hesitated, uncertain how to respond to such determination. The soldier used his knowledge of tactics, setting up clever barriers and using the environment to his advantage. He never sought to harm anyone unnecessarily, but he ensured that no one could reach the girl. The standoff lasted tense minutes, but the aliens finally backed down. The humans' courage, intelligence, and unwavering commitment to protecting the girl had won the day. The alien girl watched in amazement, feeling pride and gratitude swell in her chest. He had not only saved her life multiple times, but had also shown the true potential of humanity. Strength, courage, ingenuity, and an unshakable sense of right. When the danger passed, they finally stepped onto the sanctuary planet. The alien girl's injuries were tended to properly, and she began to regain her strength fully. She looked at the human soldier and felt something profound. He had claimed her life, her trust, and her hope. She was no longer alone. She had someone who would fight for her, protect her, and value her beyond measure. In the quiet moments that followed, the alien girl spoke to him more freely. She told fragments of her story, her family, and her culture. The human soldier listened with patience, empathy, and genuine interest. He asked questions, offered comfort, and shared stories of Earth and humanity. She began to see him not just as a protector, but as a friend, a guide, and someone who had changed her entire world. Days turned into weeks, and their bond strengthened. The human soldier taught her more about survival, about thinking strategically, and about trusting herself. She taught him about her world, her people, and the wisdom that her species possessed. They learned from each other, bridging the gap between two very different worlds through respect, trust, and cooperation. The alien girl had been left to die, abandoned and weak. But the human soldier had rescued her and shown her the potential within herself. She had hope again, a sense of purpose and a feeling that she could belong somewhere, with someone who truly cared. She realized that humans, despite their flaws, could achieve greatness through courage, intelligence, and compassion. The story closed on a note of quiet triumph. They stood together overlooking the sanctuary planet, the sun casting golden light across the landscape. The alien girl, once fragile and hopeless, now stood tall beside the human soldier, fully healed and confident. He had not just saved her life, he had shown her that humanity could inspire hope, protect the vulnerable, and overcome impossible odds. The bond they shared was strong, unbreakable, and a testament to the extraordinary potential of humans. Even in a universe filled with danger and uncertainty, there was a truth the alien girl would carry forever. Humans could rise above challenges, show boundless courage, and touch lives in ways no one else could. And in the human soldier, she had seen all of that and more. Her life had been claimed, yes, but not in a possessive way. He had claimed her safety, her hope, and her trust, and in return, he had changed her world forever.